Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Here we go. First stream since my God, week 4, I think it was. So obviously, as everybody knows, I was in Portugal for a little while, and then I came back and just had some travel croup that I'm still kind of working through, but I was like, I couldn't justify being away from you folks for one more week. So it is time. We are back. Week 9 NFL picks, and I could not be more excited to be back and doing this with y'all for the rest of this season. CFL show will be back again tomorrow as well. We're heading careening recklessly into the CFL playoffs. So it's there's no better time of year to be a football fan, to be perfectly honest. Midway point of the NFL season, CFL playoffs coming up. It's a great time just to be a sports fan in general, but especially to be a football fan. Great time of year. So I don't expect a ton of people to be in this stream today because it's Halloween. We're literally streaming this in the middle of the day. It's 2 p.m. Eastern. So I don't expect there will be a ton of people in here, but the people that are here, I appreciate y'all. You are the diehards, you're the hardcores. I love y'all. So anybody that's here, I truly appreciate it. So let's see if I remember how to do this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start that bad boy right there. And that looks like it sounds pretty good. I'll just juice up my recording level there a little bit. That looks good to me. All right. We got this ready to roll. All right. In 5, 4, 3, what's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the incredible folks at Nerd Tees. I am back, week 9 of my weekly NFL football pick show for the 2023 NFL season and postseason, and a very deep and a very heartfelt thank you to everyone who has been exceptionally patient, waiting for me to return and come back to these streams and back to this show. Obviously, I was away for a few weeks overseas in Portugal. The trip was incredible. What a beautiful country. What an incredible culture. And getting to just kind of immerse myself in it for 11 days and basically circle the entire country and just see these incredible sights, stand in the same room as Henry the Navigator. I mean, it was just an incredible trip. And I'm so thankful that I got to take it. And for the people that allowed me to take it, shout out to Caitlin. You're the best. And now I'm home and I'm still kind of dealing with a little bit of a travel croup, not COVID related as far as I know, but just some travel croup and just kind of getting that flushed back out of my system. But I couldn't deny you one more week of coming back to these streams. So week 9, we're back to it. And look, my picks were exceptionally successful while I was away in Portugal. I did all of the picks on Twitter. So if you're curious about anything that I picked while I was gone, which was weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8. All of those picks are available to you on Twitter. And I did pretty darn well while I was gone. But hyper focusing in on last week, week 8, 11-5 straight up, which now has me 79-43 on the season, almost 65% straight up. That is an incredible mark that I have not seen for some time. Against the spread, just barely above water last week at 8-7-1, but I'm now full 9 games over 500 against the spread on the season at 64, 55, and 3 pushes. We definitely like that. Even had a good week last week on the totals, going 10-6 over under. Now I am still 9 games underwater, so that just goes to show how bad my total picks have been up to this point. You go 10-6 and you're still 56, 65, and 1 on the season, which is what I am. So obviously we would like that to be better. The primetime picks have been pretty darn good as well. Thursday night, we had Buffalo beating Tampa Bay 24-18. That was a straight up and over under win for me. I did miss it against the spread as I had Buffalo covering. The Packers game, I called the Packers losing to the Vikings. They did so 24-10. I actually swept that pick. It was a straight up win for the Vikes and against the spread win for the Vikes and a correct play on the total, which was an under. On Sunday Night Football, I took the upset of the Chicago Bears over the Chargers. Obviously, that did not come to pass as the Chargers won that game handily 30-13. So I got swept on that pick straight up against the spread and over under loss. And on Monday Night Football last night, the Detroit Lions took care of business against the Las Vegas Raiders 26-14. That was a straight up and against the spread win for me. However, I did take the over in that game, I think on 44.5, and it didn't quite get there. So it was a loss on the total. Overall, Thursday night, 6-2 straight up, 5-3 against the spread, 5-3 on the totals. The Packers pick or the flex pick in games that the Packers are either not playing or in one of the other primetime slots. 6-2 straight up, 5-3 against the spread, 5-3 on the totals. Good news. Sunday night, 6-2 straight up, even money against the spread at 4-4, only 2-6 on the totals on Sunday night. We got to fix that in a big way. And Monday night, 6-4 straight up, 5-4-1 against the spread, only 3-7 on the totals there. So again, we got some work to do on the totals. What else is new? Taking a peek here at the Bridgewater's Finest Pick'em Pool for season 12 of this show. I'm now all the way up to 12th place out of 52. I think I was like tied for 26 when I left. So up to 12 now. That's definitely a good little turnaround here in the middle part of the season. Up to 671 out of 996 possible confidence points. That's a clip of almost 67.5%, which is in a nice spot. And I brought in 102 of 136 possible confidence points in week 8, which is a clip of exactly 75%. Not good enough to win the week, however. Shout out to our week 8 winner, Marvin Pickset, who goes 13-3 last week. A massive showing for them. 120 of 136 confidence points there, a clip of just over 88%. That was good enough to win the week. And Crack Attack sits as our overall leader. They've been kind of hopping back and forth with fourth and impossible or fourth and ridiculous. I think it was fourth and impossible. 76-46 is Crack Attack on the season. 700 of 996 possible confidence points, a clip of just over that magic mark of 70.3%. We'll take a peek now into Fantasy Corner, which is, of course, brought to you by my great friends at the Dynasty Trade Calculator. And ladies and gentlemen, for as little as a cup of coffee, you can gain access to one of the absolute best resources available online for Dynasty, Keeper, and long-term fantasy football. We're talking about trade evaluations, player rankings, podcasts, a ton of great experts on that site. My affiliate link is in the description down below to the Dynasty Trade Calculator. And like I say, for as little as a cup of coffee, you can gain access to one of the best long-term fantasy football tools available online. With 6-2 across my 8 fantasy football teams last week. That's a 4-2 mark in my redraft leagues, as well as 2-0 winning both of my dynasty leagues, which is massive. And I'm now in 3rd place in both of my best ball leagues as well. So best ball having a successful run here in the first half of the season. In the Professionals Dynasty, I picked up the win against Cat. That moves my record to 4-4 on the season. I got a Week 9 matchup against Billy B. Now, Billy B, I think, is 7-1 on the season so far. So it's a projected win for me right now because Billy's kind of in bye week hell. But you don't take for granted a matchup against a team that's 7-1. So literally anything can happen there. I might luck out here and I might have the team to get it done this week. In the Ante & Co. Dynasty League, I had a win last week against AJ. That moves my record to 6-2. I'm one of the top teams in that league. I got a Week 9 matchup against Kat, who I just faced in the Professionals, and that is a projected win for me as well. So if everything falls into place, should be a good week in Dynasty yet again. And I'll take this opportunity, as I always do, to remind you that if you go to the description of this video or the audio file, wherever you happen to get your podcasts, the VOD, however you interact with this show, you're going to find all my results from last week, all my straight up against the spread and over-under plays for Week 9 in the NFL. You're going to find information on joining my Pick'em Pool, the Bridgewater's Finest Pick'em Pool for Season 12 of this show. You're also going to find information on joining the NFL YouTube prognostication Prognosticators Facebook page, and information on my great friends and sponsors, the folks that are keeping me from coughing out loud as much as possible. Those are the folks at Nerd Teas and Coffee Bean. If you're a longtime viewer, you already know, but let me let you know one more time. Nerd Teas and Coffee Bean at nerdteas.ca is where you need to go to find dozens and dozens of incredible loose leaf tea, estate coffee, and flavored coffee blends. No matter what your taste palette is, you're going to find something at nerdteas.ca for you. And when you do, you're going to want to use my promo code, which is BWFinest. That is going to save you 15% at checkout. You're going to get free shipping in Canada on any order over $100, which is an excellent value. Or if you're one of my American viewers, you're going to get a great conversion rate on the US dollar. One of those great options for you is today's blend, which is Black Forest Cake. Yes, it is a dessert tea. It is delicious. It smells incredible. Put a little bit of milk in there, and you got yourself a great cup of tea. But you are going to find a bunch of great options on nerdteas.ca. Use that promo code BWFinest, save your 15%, get your free shipping, find yourself something to love, or find someone you love something to love. You can do it on nerdteas.ca. I think I still remember how to do this, which is nice. All right. So, week 9 picks. There's no sense wasting any more time. We are going to get right into it. It's a 14-game slate this week, so we do have a couple of teams that are on buys, a couple of fairly important teams that are on buy this week, but we've got plenty of action, and that is going to kick off on the Thursday night game, which is the Tennessee Titans in Pittsburgh taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Steelers are coming into this matchup as a team that's a little bit of a walking wounded. They've got injuries on both sides of the football that obviously are lending a lot to a lot of concern if you're a Steelers backer. Starts right at the quarterback position. Kenny Pickett, he's dealing with a rib injury, and with the quick turnaround of this game, he hasn't been officially ruled out yet. Minka Fitzpatrick at safety has been officially ruled out already, but Kenny Pickett has not yet been ruled out. If he is ruled out, I think that means they turn to Mitch Trubisky. I think that would be Trubisky getting the start then. Obviously, that's at least something of a downgrade for the Steelers offense, which has been absolutely abysmal lately. And I'm catching a ton of heat in one of the Facebook groups I'm in because I happened to throw a little tier list out there about how I personally would rank teams based on how they've played over their past 4 games. And I have the Steelers like close to the bottom of the league because that offense has been abysmal. Bottom 5 across the board in terms of yards per game, points per game, as well as offensive efficiency over their last 4 games. They're one of the worst offenses in foot. They might be the worst offense in football right now, but they definitely rank among the worst of them. The defense has been fairly efficient, but now the problems on the offensive side are starting to wiggle over onto the defense because the defense is giving up like 380 yards a game over their last 4 because the offense can't sustain drives. They get all these opportunities, and even though the Steelers' defense has been fairly opportunistic and has been fairly efficient, they can't be perfect. And if you keep giving up opportunities, bad things are going to happen. And that's what the Steelers' offense is right now. It's not going to be good, obviously, with the starting quarterback likely out. Not going to be good with one of the better safeties in the NFL already ruled out and not playing in this game. Deontay Johnson also got hurt again last week. I believe we're still waiting on his availability, probably watching practice reports leading up to Thursday. Meanwhile, the Tennessee Titans winners last week, they finally gave Will Levis a chance. And what did he do? I believe it was 4 touchdown passes, 3 of them going to DeAndre Hopkins. If you're going to have DeAndre Hopkins, you might as well throw to him in the red zone. And that's certainly what Will Levis and the Titans did last week. And I feel like this is a team not necessarily on the rise, but I mean, they've had pretty darn good defensive performances over the last month. The offense kind of middle of the road, but if the same Will Levis shows up this week as showed up last week, if he's playing with nothing to lose, I really like the Titans here. They're the underdog, obviously, where they're on the road in Pittsburgh. Give me the Titans to win this game outright. I think right now they're the slightly better football team top to bottom. Give me the Tennessee Titans on the road in the upset. Tennessee beats Pittsburgh. Now on the line, Steelers are laying -2.5. Obviously, I like Tennessee to win, so give me the +2.5 on the Titans. Total in this game set at 36.5 points. Obviously, scoring across the board in the NFL has been down over the last month. I think these are two teams that are predicated more so on the defenses right now than on the offense. It's such a low number, but give me the under on it anyway. Under 36.5 points in Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Let's go 20-13 in favor of the Titans. Titans win, Titans cover, and give me the under on the points. It just feels good to be back. Like, it just feels good to be back doing this again. I can't express that to you enough. All right, let's hit you with some quick ones. And in order to do that, we got to go all the way over to Germany, ladies and gentlemen. The Miami Dolphins and Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Germany, and Miami coming off of a win last week. Kansas City, a very surprising loss in a division game against the Denver Broncos. I'm calling this back-to-back road games for the Chiefs, considering, of course, this is a neutral site game that both teams have to travel to. We're going to call it back-to-back road games for them. So, look, this is a matchup between two teams that should be considered AFC powerhouses. Obviously, I don't love what we saw last week out of the Chiefs, but how often do the Chiefs put up two kind of duds in a row? Doesn't tend to happen. I think this could be the marquee game of this week, of this coming week of games. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I like the Chiefs defense a little bit better than I do the Dolphins, even though actually over the last 4 games, Miami's total defense has been pretty darn good, top 5. But I just don't see the Chiefs having two kind of donuts in a row. So let's take Kansas City here on the road in a neutral site against the Miami Dolphins. Chiefs get the win. On the line, the Chiefs are only laying 2.5 points here as a marginal favorite. I like them to win. It's a small price to pay. Let's lay the -2.5 on Kansas City. Total in this game set at 50.5. And you think with the dynamic offenses that you have featured in this game, this should feel like a slam dunk over. But my God, the scoring in this league is down so much over the past month. I think I got to take the under on this one. It's kind of a nose hold, but I'm going to go under 50.5 points in Kansas City, Miami. Let's take Chiefs 27-20. So Chiefs win, Chiefs cover. Give me a close under on the points, but a little uncomfy about that one. Let's go to Atlanta now, where the Falcons are going to play host to a Minnesota Vikings team that is now going to be without their starting quarterback for the remainder of this season. Obviously, one of the biggest injury storylines from week 8 is Kirk Cousins going down with a torn Achilles. He is done for the year. And actually, since it's the NFL trade deadline, there is a trade to announce here, which is that the Arizona Cardinals are trading starting quarterback has been their starting quarterback, Joshua Dobbs, to the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know that we know what the return is on the trade yet. At least I didn't see it before I went live. I can't imagine it's much more than a middling pick or maybe a pick swap, something like that. But yeah, Joshua Dobbs looks like he's probably going to be the guy for the Vikings. And the trade that I wanted to see them make was Jameis Winston. I think that was the big splash. Joshua Dobbs is kind of like that secondary splash, but he's been the starter for the Arizona Cardinals since week 1, essentially. So he's got starting reps this season. I think he's good enough to kind of keep them afloat. At least keep them, you just got to keep them in the conversation. And that's all he really has to do. He doesn't have to be elite. He just has to keep them in the conversation when it gets towards the end of the season and we're talking about wild card spots. He just has to keep them competitive. I think he'll certainly do that. I think it was a savvy move to go out and get somebody. I would have preferred it to be Winston, but they went out and got Dobbs. They probably got Dobbs for less than they could get Winston for, so I can't exactly say that I hate that deal. The Atlanta Falcons, they're dealing with injury situations of their own, and it's one on each side of the football. Grady Jarrett tore his ACL. He's done for the season. I know Chris Carter, Hatbox Kid, obviously the most noted Falcons fan that I know. I know he really wants them to make a deal here before the 4 p.m. deadline to address the defensive line in the wake of the injury to Jarrett. Be interesting to see whether they do that. And then Drake London, a groin injury. I would say he's 50-50 for this game. With a groin, you never really know. He might be good to go. He might need that extra week. If he needs the extra week, obviously that's a hit to the entire Falcons offense. And look, not knowing who the starting quarterback is going to be from Minnesota is obviously a big deal. It definitely hurts. And for Atlanta, we know that Desmond Ridder has cleared concussion protocol, so it looks like he's going to be back and fine. This is where this game comes down to for me. Right now, Atlanta's favored by 4.5 points. You know what that line does? It stinks. It stinks big time. That line is awful. I got no problem with them being a favorite. 4.5 points? Something about that line doesn't smell right. And it's the Falcons. The Falcons have that problem where the games that they feel like they should be a heavy favorite in, or at least a clear favorite, they play down to the opponent and more often than not seem to lose those games. I feel like Atlanta's that team that rises to the occasion when they're a dog, and they're not a dog in this matchup. And even though I don't know who the starting quarterback for Minnesota is going to be, I'd be surprised if Dobbs was ready by then, but he might be. I think I got to take the Vikings here. There's something in the pit of my gut. Even though the Vikings are on the tail end of back-to-back road games, they've won 3 straight. This is a team that's starting to turn things around, and I think top to bottom, they're a better football team than Atlanta is. I'm going to take the upset here and take the Vikings on the road to beat Atlanta outright. So obviously, with that line, -4.5, I'm more than happy to take the points on the Minnesota Vikings. Total in the game set at 37.5. I'm going to play this safe. I'm going to stay under on it, not knowing what I'm going to get from either one of these offenses. Let's go 23-13 in favor of the Vikings. Vikes win, Vikes cover, and give me the under. Gorian is joining me in the chat. Gorian, how you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for stopping by on this obviously off-schedule episode. Gorian, had I played Pick'em week 1 instead of 2, I'd be top 10. Next year, won't overthink it. Very nice. Dobbs is a Viking, absolutely. I might have a 0-point week in Pick'em. These 2 weeks are hard. You're talking about like this week and the week coming up, or rather next week, or this past week and this week. Man, you get in the dog days, it's not as easy as people think it is. It really, really isn't. Let's move on to Cleveland now, where the Browns are going to play host to an Arizona Cardinals team that have lost 5 straight games and obviously just traded away the guy that's been their starting quarterback. Obviously, Kyler Murray is about to come back off the injured list. Doesn't look like he's going to get the start this week, but wouldn't be surprised if he's back out there for week 10. The Cleveland Browns doesn't look like Deshaun Watson's going to be the starting quarterback either. So, boy, what kind of a quarterback matchup are we looking at seeing in this game? This line really bothers me too, because Cleveland are 7.5-point favorites in this game. I guess I get where it comes from because their offense has been fairly efficient lately. Cleveland's defense has not been good over the past 4 games. They have one of the worst defensive efficiencies in the NFL over that period of time, and they're giving up almost 27 points a game over their last 4. So to take a team like that and to lay 7.5 points on them, that I can't personally do. I do think Cleveland's still the better football team, so I do like Cleveland to win the game, but I'm going to hedge my bets here. Give me Cleveland straight up, but give me the Arizona Cardinals plus the points. 7.5, it's just too much for me. If you see this line dip under 7, maybe you might grab it there, but 7.5 without knowing the quarterback situation on either side, just too much for me. Browns win the game outright, but give me the plus 7.5 on Arizona. Total in the game set at 37.5 points. It's a pretty darn good total, but again, neither one of these defenses are playing very efficient football lately. So I do think this total sneaks over. Give me the over on the 37.5 points here. We're going to go 23-17 in favor of Cleveland. Browns win. Cards cover the plus 7.5 and give me a very marginal over on the points. Then, one of the more interesting games that we're going to look at this week, the Washington Commanders in New England taking on the Patriots. Now, part of why this is so interesting is we had another trade that has happened so far on this trade deadline day, and it features the Washington Commanders, who send defensive lineman Montez Sweat to the Chicago Bears in exchange for a second-round pick. I love that trade. I love the trade on both sides. Be real interested to see whether Chicago can work out something long-term with Sweat, or if we're going to be looking at, franchise tag situations, maybe a sign and trade, who knows. Now, the New England Patriots have been one of the most abysmal football teams to watch over the last month. Washington hasn't been much better, but we look at that Washington team last week, and that was the Sam Howell and Jahan Dotson that I thought I was drafting in August. That's finally the showing that I expected to see more of from that connection of Sam Howell and Jahan Dotson. I think Dotson had over 100 yards, either 6 or 8 catches, I can't remember which, had a receiving touchdown. Sam Howell had himself a big game, a 40 burger in terms of fantasy points. He had a big day. If that's the Sam Howell we start to see more often, and he's been fairly consistent this season, I think 15 or more fantasy points in like 6 of his 8 starts or something like that. So he's been relatively consistent, but we start seeing more of that high-end play and the development of that connection with Jahan Dotson. I do think this Washington team could make some noise. Trading away a guy like Montez Sweat kind of sucks because it doesn't make your football team better. But I get it because they weren't going to have him long term. They've also got to deal with Chase Young and get him under contract. So I get why they moved away from him. Don't love it, but I get it. Gorian's in the chat saying New England all day. I can't bring myself to do it. This Patriots team is bad. They're bad with a capital B. And I can't do it. I'm on Washington in this one. I like the upset here of Washington going into New England, especially where the Patriots are now. You got to buy that extra hook on them against the spread. They're -3.5 on most books where they had been like -2.5, -3. You're starting to see that extra hook now. I don't love it. I know the Commanders have lost 2 straight games. The Patriots had won a couple of weeks ago and then lost last week or whatever it happened to be. I like the Commanders in this one. Give me Washington outright to get this win, and give me Washington plus the 3.5 points against the spread. Total in the game set at 40.5 points. I am going to go over on this one because, again, these are 2 defenses that have not been playing very well lately, both of them giving up at least 27 or more points a game over their last 4. So give me the over in this one. Let's go 24-20 in favor of the Commanders. Washington wins, Washington covers, and give me the over on the points. Let's go to Green Bay now, where the Packers, losers of 4 straight games, come home and play host to the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams on the tail end of back-to-back road games and losers of 2 straight games of their own. So look, Green Bay, obviously that early season optimism has completely whittled away from the Packers. And look, they're one of the less efficient offenses in the NFL over the last 4. They're one of the less efficient defenses over the last 4. A lot of problems here in Green Bay. What might be their saving grace this week is the possibility that we do not see Matt Stafford at quarterback for the LA Rams. Stafford dealing with a thumb injury on his throwing hand. I'd say it's 50-50. I think it's a sprain. I think they've identified that he's not going to need surgery because surgery is probably 4 to 6 weeks at least. And Stafford's a warrior. I'm going to say it's 50-50, but I would say, chances are he'll probably be out there. But to what degree can he grip the football? That's going to be a big question mark in the pass game. And is the run game good enough if the pass game isn't there for the Rams? I don't love what the Rams have done on offense over the last little while. And look, this is with Cooper Kupp back. This is with getting closer at the very least to full strength. And the Rams on the defensive side, nothing to kind of write home about either. They're bottom 5 in the league over the last 4 games in terms of yardage they've been giving up, bottom 10 in terms of points that they've been giving up. Like, this losing streak for Green Bay is not going to last forever. I don't exactly think they did a ton of great things in that Minnesota game, but this is slightly lower competition as far as I'm concerned. I'm actually going to take Green Bay to pick up this win. So I think the losing streak gets snapped here. They're at home. It should be a good situation for them. Let's take the Green Bay Packers at home to beat the LA Rams. On the line, Green Bay is laying -3 as a home favorite. I like them to win. It's a relatively small price to pay. It's just a field goal. So let's lay the -3 on Green Bay. Total in the game set at 39.5 points. I feel this is one of my favorite overs of this week. I feel really comfortable about this getting into like a mid 40. So over 39.5 points in Green Bay, Los Angeles. Let's go 26-17 in favor of the Packers. Packers win, Packers cover, and give me the over on the points. All right, a couple more quick hitters here for you. The Chicago Bears on the road in New Orleans, taking on a Saints team who, again, I thought would be trading Jameis Winston to Minnesota before the deadline today. Obviously, that's not going to happen now with the Dobbs trade to the Vikings. But Chicago, bringing in a guy like Montez Sweat, even though this is a team that's struggling, isn't going to be making any noise come playoff time, bringing in a guy who can be an impact player, a big impact player on the defensive line in Montez Sweat. You line him up opposite Yannick Ngakoue, you've got something there on that defensive line. I think that makes the Bears a better team on the field. Bears are coming into this on the tail end of back-to-back road games, New Orleans having picked up the win last week. So it is two teams going in different directions. And honestly, I think the Saints have been one of the better teams in football over the last month or so. They're moving the ball really, really well. I think that's 413 yards on average over the last 4 games. So they're moving the ball very well. They're scoring plenty of points. They're not giving up a ton of yardage on the defensive side. Chicago has been playing better than their results. Chicago deserves better results than what they've had on the field. Like, they're one of the most efficient offenses in football over the last month, believe it or not. And the defense honestly hasn't been that bad either. They're top 10 in terms of, yards against. So they're playing better football than their results would indicate. I don't think that's good enough to go into New Orleans and beat New Orleans. So we're definitely going to be on the Saints here. Have New Orleans get this win at home. However, the Saints are favored by 7.5 points. And the one thing that the Saints have not been this year is good against the spread. They just have not been good against the spread this season. I think there's something like 1-5-1 against the spread this year or something like that. Just like not good, not good against the spread this year. So to lay 7.5 points on them against a team that I think is playing better than their results, that I can't do. So we're going to take the Saints to win straight up, but I am going to hedge my bets and take that plus 7.5 on the Chicago Bears. Total in this game set at 41. I think these offenses are more than capable of getting up above this number. A mid 40, I think, is certainly on the board. So let's go over 41 points in New Orleans, Chicago. Let's go Saints 26, Chicago 21. They might get that backdoor cover, might the Bears, but I think that's what takes it over. So Saints win, Bears cover plus 7.5, and give me the over on the points. Half Moon saying, I see you're still fanboying it. No. I took the Vikings to win last week, and they did. It was on Twitter. It wasn't on here because I didn't do this. But if you go back and you look at my Twitter picks from last week, I took the Vikings to win and cover, and they did. So, no. No fanboy accusations here. This is a game that is winnable for Green Bay. But hi, Moon. Welcome back. Let's take a peek at one of the most interesting games heading into this week. That is the Seattle Seahawks on the road in Baltimore taking on the Ravens. Baltimore has been an elite team over the last month. People will talk about strength of schedule and how that's an issue. I find that to be less of an issue, just coming from the philosophy of it's the NFL, and literally any team can beat anybody else. I'm not saying strength of schedule doesn't matter, because it does, but I don't think it's enough to invalidate the numbers. And the numbers say Baltimore has been an incredible football team over the last month. The Seattle Seahawks are the only defense in the entire NFL to rank top 5 in yardage against, points against, and defensive efficiency over the last month. The only defense in the NFL to rank top 5 in all 3 of those categories. This Seahawks defense is for real. And who did they just bring in? They just traded for somebody from the Jets, didn't they? Like prior to the trade deadline to shore up the defensive line. The name is escaping me now. This is still travel brain, so I apologize. Somebody let me know in the chat, but they did just bring somebody in a trade. So look, Seattle's won back-to-back games. Baltimore's won 3 straight. This is one of the marquee matchups of Week 9. I do believe that the big difference here is going to be on the offensive side. Seattle has been a little underwater in terms of their offensive efficiency. They've been doing some good things on offense, just the efficiency not quite there. You would expect more on the scoreboard from them, whereas Baltimore across the board has been great on both sides. So I think the edge here has to go to the Ravens. I like the Ravens to get this win, especially where the game is in Baltimore. Let's take the Ravens to beat the Seahawks. On the line, Baltimore laying -5.5 here as a home favorite. You know what? It's under a touchdown. I think I got to lay this, even though Seattle's defense has been that good. Seattle's defense has been incredible over the last month or so. I still think I got to lay that 5.5 points. It's under a touchdown. It might be a little bit like this, but let's lay the -5.5 on Baltimore. Total in the game set at 42.5. 2 incredible defenses. Let's go ahead and take the under on this one. I don't think this game gets to 40 points. So let's go under 42.5 in Baltimore, Seattle. Let's go Ravens 24, Seattle 14. So Ravens win, Ravens cover, but give me the under on the points. And then we have the Tampa Bay Bucks on the road in Houston to take on the Texans. Now, Tampa Bay losers of 3 consecutive games. They do have the benefit here of the long week, having played on Thursday last week. So they do have, 10 days to get ready for this one. It is the tail end of back-to-back road games for them. And as I mentioned, losers of 3 straight games. A lot of that is on the offensive side of the ball. They've been struggling to put up points. They've been moving the ball okay, like kind of league average, fairly close to league average. They're just not generating the points off of it. They're bottom 10 in points per game over the last 4, and the offensive efficiency is bottom 5. So it hasn't been on the defense. The defense has actually played fairly well. They've been bend but don't break, giving up a lot of yardage, but not giving up a ton of points. So if the offense was able to keep pace a little bit better with the defense, you'd be seeing Tampa Bay having more success than losing 3 straight games. You look at Houston, they're doing some really good things. They're kind of the same, actually. They've been doing some really good things on the defensive side. The offense has been kind of league average, basically across the board. Efficiency, total offense, points scored, it's kind of in middle of the pack, but their defense has been fairly good. I do think this is a game where points are going to be at a premium. It's a low total of 40. I don't know why I feel an upset here. In my guts, I just feel it down there. I feel like somehow Tampa Bay, with one of those big offensive weapons, whether it's Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or maybe Rachaad White in the run game, one of those big weapons goes off for a massive day here. And I think it's enough to propel Tampa Bay to an upset win. That's the way I'm going to go with this, even though Again, they've lost 3 straight, even though it's tail end of back-to-back road games. I'm feeling it here for Tampa Bay. Let's take the Bucks on the road to upset the Houston Texans, who I don't have a ton of faith in when they're a favorite. Fair enough? Fair enough. So I think Tampa Bay gets the upset win over Houston. On the line, the Texans are laying -3 as a home favorite. I like Tampa to win. Give me the 3 points. Total in this game set at 40. I'm going to look at like a 20-17 final in favor of the Bucks. Maybe it's a last-second field goal. Maybe it's a touchdown late in the game. Whatever it happens to be, I do think it stays under the point total. But give me the Bucks to win and give me the +3 on Tampa. Pardon me muting to cough. The Sunday night football game, the Buffalo Bills on the road in Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. And I'm going to put this question out to the folks in chat and the folks watching this on the VOD. Are the Bengals back? Because it's kind of starting to look like the Bengals might be back a little bit. In terms of offensive and defensive efficiency, they're one of the few teams in the NFL who are top 5 in both over the past month. I believe they're winners of 3 straight games. The offense is looking like it's starting to click a little bit more here. The defense is another one of those like kind of bend but don't break styles of defenses where they're giving up a bunch of yardage, but they're not giving up the points relative to the yardage that they're allowing. They should be allowing a lot more points than they have been over the last month. So it's certainly starting to feel like they might be back. They're finally realizing what I kind of been screaming about for a year is that, hey, Tyler Boyd is pretty good at football, so let's get him a little more involved in the offense. I realize there's a lot of mouths to feed there, but like Tyler Boyd's pretty good at football, so let's get him as involved as the top 2 guys, and then boy, you really got something with that 1, 2, 3. The Buffalo Bills are a conundrum. They move the ball really well, and they don't score the points relative to how well they move the ball. The defense is also kind of bend but don't break. A little on the better side of bend but don't break. They bend, but they really don't break. They're one of the more efficient teams. They don't quite hit the top 10, but their efficiency is pretty up there. But they're a conundrum. They lose games that they should not lose, or games are more competitive than they should be. And we're starting to see it now as a trend. I think it's happened enough this season that we can comfortably realistically call it a trend. What I would love to see from the Buffalo Bills is to go out and trade for Davante Adams before 4 o'clock today. You got an hour and 20 minutes to do it. That's the move. I don't care what you have to give up. If the Buffalo Bills want to win a Super Bowl, give them whatever they want. I don't care how many first round picks you have to give them. If you got to give them Gabe Davis, give them Gabe Davis. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you go out and you trade for Davante Adams. Oh, the money can't work. Make the money work. You find a way. He ain't happy where he is. He can't be. That's the move. Like, this is a team that's starving for a Super Bowl. That's the move I would love to see them make. They're not going to. It's not going to happen. It's a fairy tale. But it's the move I would love to see them make. Because, like, who can defend against that? Who can defend against Stephon Diggs over here and Davante Adams over here with Josh Allen throwing the football? Good luck, everybody else. Anyway, another one here that's, again, a marquee matchup in this week. Potential AFC championship game preview type stuff. I like both of these teams. I think the Bengals are in a better spot right now. They're the team that I feel closer to trusting than the Buffalo Bills. I think we're going to go with the Bengals here. I like the Bengals at home. Cincinnati gets this win on Sunday night over Buffalo. On the line, Cincinnati's laying -2.5. I like them to win. It's a small price to pay. Let's lay the -2.5 on the Bengals. Total in this game set at 48.5 points, one of the larger totals of the week, but I'm still going to skew under on it because, again, Buffalo, not a super efficient offense. And, you're looking at the Bengals, who are a super efficient offense, but they're not lighting the scoreboard on fire either. So let's take the under here, under 48.5 points in Buffalo, Cincinnati. Let's go Bengals 27, Bengals 27, Bills 18. Cincinnati wins, Cincinnati covers, and give me the under on the points. And before we get into the latter games this week, Gorian just put in the chat something that I have to double check. He just put in the chat that Chase Young is a San Francisco 49er. So because it's trade deadline day, off to Twitter we go. Is that a thing? Washington is dealing Chase Young to the San Francisco 49ers for a third-round pick. Wow. Holy cow. A third-round pick? They got more for Montez Sweat than they got for Chase Young? Look, no disrespect to Montez Sweat. He's had an incredible start to his career. He's got something like, 38 sacks in 4.5 seasons, something like that. Sweat's been incredible. But, oh my God, a third-round pick. Once again, the Niners win. Like, it's the Niners world, and we're all just kind of living with it. Holy cow. More term could be, no, I mean, they're both pending free agents. I don't think either one of them have a contract beyond this season. So, I mean, you could be looking at franchise tags for both of them. Wow. That's okay. I feel a little worse about my Washington pick this week. I'm still going to stick with it, but holy cow, that is huge. That's crazy. Thank you, Gorian, for letting me know that in the chat. And hey, feel free to break Devontae Adams back to the Green Bay Packers. All right. All right, 3 quickies before we get into the preview of the Monday night game, which is the LA Chargers in New York to take on the Jets. First, the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Carolina winners last week, a last-second field goal. Eddie Pinheiro, is that who their kicker is? So they win that last week. The Colts, losers of 3 straight games, but my God, the Colts are another team that, man, if their defense could play even like a little bit closer to league average, like their defense right now is an uncanny valley. It looks like a defense, but my God, they can't do anything. They have the single worst efficiency in the NFL over the last 4 games. The Colts defense is garbage, and that's a big part of why they've lost 3 straight games. Now look, Carolina, winners last week. Their defense not very good either. They're giving up a ton of points. Their efficiency is almost as bad as the Indianapolis Colts is. So the one thing that I think you can be guaranteed about this game is it's my favorite over of the week. Points. Like, this game gets into the 50s without a problem, as far as I'm concerned. And that being the case, I have to skew on the team that's playing better offensively right now, and that is without a doubt the Indianapolis Colts. They're generating a ton of offense. They're putting a ton of points on the board. They just can't stop anybody. But if this is going to be a track meet, the Indianapolis Colts are the team that is best set up to win that track meet. I'm going to go with the Colts here to snap that 3-game losing streak. Indianapolis goes into Carolina and beats the Panthers. Now, Indy's laying -3 points here as a road favorite. I like them to win. Relatively small price to pay. Let's lay the -3 on the Colts. Total in the game, 44.5. You know where I'm going on this. Over in a big bad way. Let's go 31-24 in favor of the Indianapolis Colts. So Colts win, Colts cover, and give me the over on the points. Let's see, the New York Giants in Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. So the Raiders here obviously have the detriment of the short week, having just played last night. The Raiders losers of 2 straight games now. A number 1 wide receiver that has to be disgruntled and isn't really being involved in the game plan nearly as much as an alpha number 1 wide receiver should be. The New York Giants, just plain not a good football team, but looks like Daniel Jones might be close to coming back, which is very good news for an offense that can't move the football and can't put points on the board. The least efficient offense in the NFL over the last 4 weeks. And again, another instance where the defense is actually playing fairly well. The defense has the numbers. If the offense could do anything, they'd have more success than they found so far. However, that hasn't been the case. Let's look at one big injury for the New York Giants. And unfortunately, as if going bad to worse, it's on the offensive side, and that's tight end Darren Waller. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. You got to assume that this is going to be a multi-week absence. A player that's 30 or more has a history of hamstring and soft tissue issues. Got to imagine this is like a 2-3 week miss for him, but getting Daniel Jones back should at least somewhat course correct the offense, at least a little bit. So this is a matchup, as far as I'm concerned, of 2 bad football teams. Neither one of these offenses are particularly all that good. The Raiders are certainly the more efficient offense. We saw bits and pieces of it last night, although definitely to a lower degree than what you would expect to see kind of league average. But the Giants are head and shoulders the better defense between these 2 teams. And if this is going to be a relatively low scoring game, which most of the games in the NFL have been over the past month or so, I'm going to skew on the better defense, and that's the team that's also getting the points on the road. Let's take the New York Giants to win this game outright. Giants beat the Raiders in Las Vegas. Just give Devontae Adams another reason to want to get out of there. Giants with the upset win over the shorthanded or the short week Raiders. So Giants win. I like the +2.5 here on New York, obviously, since I like them to win. And give me the under on the 37.5 point total as well. This is going to be like a 17-16 football game. One of those like last second field goal probably wins it for the Giants. 17-16 in favor of New York. Giants win, Giants cover, and give me the under. Daryl Turner in the chat catching us up. Bears traded for Sweat from Washington and Vikings trade for Dobbs from Arizona. Absolutely. And then now, in addition to the Chase Young trade, that basically brings us up to date as far as I know anyway. On the trade deadline, we still have officially about an hour and 5 minutes before the trade deadline comes to us. So we could very well see some more. And now we have the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously division matchup here of the NFC East. Both of these teams on mini 2-game win streaks. Obviously 2 of the better football teams in the NFL, 2 of the more efficient offenses, 2 of the more efficient or usually are the more efficient defenses. However, over the last 4 games, hasn't really been the case. Dallas has been about league average. Philly's actually bottom 10 in terms of their defensive efficiency over the last 4 games. They haven't been bad, mind you, but this is, again, relative to the rest of the league, their efficiency has been, a bit above par. You know what I mean? Like you would expect it to be a little bit better with the track record of the Philadelphia Eagles. So, obviously 2 teams that know each other very well. What I think this game comes down to is the simple fact that the game is in Philly. And when you play in Philly, you got to be this. You got to be exceptionally mentally tough. And I believe the Eagles are, obviously since they're at home, but if you reverse this, if the game was in Dallas, I like Philly's mental toughness as the road team better than I do Dallas's. And I think the crowd can really get under Dak Prescott's skin, can really get under Dallas's skin. I think that's big advantage to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm going to take Philly to win this game outright. Eagles beat the Cowboys. On the line, Philly's laying -3 here as a home favorite. I like them to win. It's a relatively small price to pay. Let's lay the -3 on the Eagles. Total in this game is 46. I like this game to get into the 50s. So give me the over on this one. Over 46 points in Philadelphia. Dallas, tight, competitive, very exciting football game. Let's go 28-23 in favor of the Eagles. Eagles win, Eagles cover, and give me the over on the points. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Monday Night Football. The New York Jets playing host to the Los Angeles Chargers. These are two teams that are finding success lately. Chargers coming off of a win last week. The Jets, winners of 3 straight games. This New York Jets team is getting it done in the absence of Aaron Rodgers. Now, both of these teams have been getting it done on the back of efficiency on offense. Chargers ranked top 10, Jets ranked top 10. They're about even in these terms. The points that they're scoring relative to the yardage that they're getting, they both rank top 10 in the league. Where I believe there's going to be a big difference in this one is on the defensive side. The Chargers haven't been bad by any means. They've kind of been league average. They've given up a little more in terms of yardage than the average or the sort of the rest of the league. They're giving up an average of 346 yards of offense per game over the last 4. The Jets have really been playing highly efficient football. They're top 10 in terms of defensive efficiency. They're top 10 in terms of points against on average over their last 4 games. I think this game is won on the defensive side of the ball, and that being the case, advantage New York Jets. I like the Jets in this spot. They're a home underdog here. I like the upset here at home on Monday night. Give me the Jets at home to get the win over the Chargers. So against the spread, Jets are taking +3. I like them to win. I'll take those 3 points. Total in the game set at 41.5 points. Even though it's predicated on defense, I do think this just skips over just a little bit. It's such a beatable number at 41.5. So I think this gets to a mid 40. Give me the over on the 41.5 point total. Let's go 24-21 in favor of the Jets. Jets win. Jets cover the +3 and give me the over on the points. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the picks for week 9 in the NFL. The picks are done just before the 1 hour mark, which is a really nice spot to be in. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, fueled as always by the incredible folks at Nerd Tees. My Portugal trip was incredible, ladies and gentlemen, but I am so happy to be back here with you for the rest of this NFL season. Enjoy the games in week 9. We will see you again for double digits, week number 10. All right, folks, that is the show for week number 9. Again, very happy to be back. And just curious, I think I got 5 or 6 people watching right now, which is pretty cool. Anybody in the chat, what's the pick or the picks, I guess, that you really love, you agree with hard, that you disagree with? What do you hate? Did you pick Bengals Bills? I did. So I took Cincinnati to win that game outright. I took them to lay the -2.5, sorry. So Bengals straight up, Bengals -2.5, and I took the under on the points. I went 27-18, so under the 48.5 point total. Half Moon says, welcome back. Half Moon, thank you. Welcome back to the chat, my friend. Thank you so much. And again, it was such an awesome trip, something I'm so happy that I did for myself. Haven't really immersed myself in another culture in a long, long time. And so glad that I had the opportunity to do it with a culture that I knew, very little about. So it was awesome. It was fantastic. Eagles Bengals money line. Yeah, it would be a nice little parlay that'll get you into should get you into relatively plus money, I think. Overseas is a different world. Oh god, yeah. It's like Portugal was awesome in that sense because it is it's totally different, and getting to see kind of how their way of life is, and the interesting like conventions around even something like stuff like coffee. Like there's everywhere has coffee. It doesn't matter what you're, and again, you kind of get that in North America too, but like, little like cappuccinos and Americanos and just different kinds of like hot coffee that you can get literally anywhere. And it's so funny. Like when we first got to Lisbon, you stand in this like on the sidewalk and look up the street, and you just see like coffee shop, coffee shop, coffee shop, pharmacy, coffee shop, pharmacy, pharmacy, coffee shop, pharmacy. It just littered down every street, and banks, financial places. There's you spit and hit a bank. Like there's all kinds of, and again, like, currency conversion for euros, and there's so many different currencies in in Europe, and like stuff that they would see. So many banks, so many financial places, but the people were so nice, and they were so accommodating with English speakers, even in non-touristy places. You would go, and everywhere had at least a couple of people whose English was pretty darn good, and it was good enough to that you could kind of, you can make it work. Geo in the chat, welcome back, JR. Hope you had fun. I had such a great time, Geo. It was really incredible. Such an awesome trip. EU over USD over CAD. Yeah, I mean, my God, the Canadian dollar feels like monopoly money sometimes, but it's ours and we love it. All right, folks. I think that is going to be the full stream for this week. Thank you so much for taking the time to hop in when you can. Again, I know that the scheduling for this was different than normal, but look, the middle of the day on a Tuesday, I thank you very much for taking the time to stop in and check out the stream. We will see you again for week 10, and tomorrow you're going to see the CFL playoffs back on this channel. We are looking at the East and West semifinal in the CFL. That episode will be coming out tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, folks. We'll see you again tomorrow, and then again on the stream next week.